One of the most challenging aspects to coaching youth sports is working with parents. I'm Dr. Cassie Preston, and I experienced this firsthand as the head coach of a AAA minor hockey team for 6 years. Now I'm a full-time performance coach, and in this video, I want to share 3 effective strategies for how coaches can work with parents. First, we're going to cover how to set the tone and set the stage. Then we'll go into ongoing proactive communication strategies. And lastly, what's really important, be able to set clear boundaries for communication between coaches and parents. So let's dive right in. Number one is about setting the tone and setting the stage. And so what that means is, as the coach, you're there to work with the parents, not to deal with them. This is so important that you work with them because they're a part of the team, and working with them will help increase the overall experience as the team and the performance, but also the development of the players. What's really common and problematic is when you treat parents as a problem that you need to kind of avoid, limit, maintain, and control. And so when you're doing that, you're never going to develop an effective working relationship with them. So the alternative here is to see them as an extension of the team, because they are in a way. And so you want to work with them to cultivate buy-in from them, and that's going to help you cultivate buy-in from the players. So that's the tone you want to set. And then when it comes to setting the stage, number one, it's about communicating your coaching philosophy, your coaching approach, your expectations for yourself and how you're going to interact with the team so they get to know you and what you're about as a coach. So the second big part of setting the stage is helping parents clarifying their role. This is really important because, first off, a lot of parents aren't really clear on what their role is, and they'll often end up wearing the coaching hat, and instead of just being supportive and encouraging, especially emotionally supporting the athletes. After you've set the tone and set the stage, you're going to want to have ongoing proactive communication. And this comes in 2 main forms in terms of frequency, but also in terms of the type of feedback that you give. I want to really narrow in on one main type of frequency, which is formal communication, one-on-one, or with the coach and the athlete and the parents. Do you have a system in place for this already? Is it doing it monthly? Are you doing it bi-monthly? Is it happening at all? This is a really important thing to do, especially from the parent standpoint and the athlete, but it gives them opportunities to ask questions. Because sometimes parents, athletes, they want to ask a question, but they're kind of shy. They're not really going to go out of their way to ask. And this helps proactively address that. Another important part of frequency of communication is informal communication. So little conversations that build trust, checking in, how they're doing, getting to know them is acts of showing that you care. And so sometimes what we see a lot of coaches doing is sneaking out the back door. And I'll be honest, I've done that as a coach, tough loss. I don't want to deal with it. I'm going out, I'm not going through the lobby. And instead, what's really important to do and make it a habit is have those small conversations. It does not mean, though, you have to be best friends with them, but it's about connecting in those informal situations. That is important leadership behavior as well. So another important part to ongoing communication is providing honest and objective feedback to both the athletes and the parents. And so some coaches are naturally pretty good at this, but I want to make a couple points clear. Sometimes we sugarcoat things. I know I've done this as a coach, and that doesn't work out well. You're not serving the parent or the athlete, and you're definitely not helping them develop. And so you have to give honest feedback to do that. When you do this tastefully, so it's not about being too cold, being too harsh, but tastefully giving honest and objective feedback, the athletes, the parents will actually be grateful. They'll be appreciative of this because it's helping them learn and grow. All right, let's jump to number 3, creating communication boundaries. And this might be the most important one out of these 3 tips and strategies, because this is what can keep you sane as a coach. So on one side, I know a lot of coaches that are like Fort Knox, and they're like, not going to talk to parents, not available, like extreme boundaries. And as we alluded to earlier, that doesn't help. That's not going to work with parents. That's dealing, managing, trying to avoid parents. And then on the flip side, if you're too open, that's problematic too. And I know that one firsthand because that's what I did. I came in with setting the tone that I wanted to work with parents, but I didn't set any boundaries when I first started coaching and being a head coach. And so guess what happened? I'm getting littered with emails, texts, calls, unsolicited opinions, all kinds of stuff. And I remember wanting to quit about halfway through that first year. And the team was doing pretty well considering where they'd come from. And so if you don't set boundaries, it's going to weigh on you, and there's all kinds of problems that come. Here's 3 tips and areas that you want to be setting boundaries to and communicating that with your parents. First is the time. Think like after practice, before practice, setting even office hours can be an effective way. Like on Thursdays at 11 to 1 is when I want to have those communications. Number two is the how or the mode. So via phone call, text, email, etc. You don't want important conversations to be had over text and email. Have them in person if you can, or over the phone or Zoom, etc. Now, thirdly is the what or the content. And this is really important. Think of what you first don't want, what's not acceptable. And so big here is unsolicited opinions. If you're having people tell you what they think of other athletes, while they think how good their player is, what they think you should do as a coaching strategy, playing time, that's not what these meetings are meant to be. Alternatively, you then want to be very clear at what it is acceptable to talk about. And so that's asking questions about their development. So asking questions about what they're doing well, what they could work on, how maybe they can earn more playing time. This is going to obviously set the stage, create the space to have a more formal, effective communication and work with the parents. These three strategies of setting the tone and setting the stage, then having ongoing proactive communication and setting clear communication boundaries are our three cornerstones to working effectively with parents. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the psychology of coaching, I do have an upcoming masterclass. I'll be touching on how to deal with problematic parents and athletes, how to cultivate championship culture, and how to strengthen your athlete's mental toughness. So if you're interested, all you have to do is click the link below and sign up. I hope to see you there.